Okay. So people are coming into the meeting, so we'll give that a couple of minutes. Okay. Hi, everyone. This is ANC1B's Transportation, Parks, and Public Space Committee. This is our first meeting of the year, of the term. And we don't have a lot of agenda items today. Our main focus for tonight is to kind of establish the committee. We had 16 applicants. The rules of the ANC are that we can have 15 committee members. So that's great. I was not expecting such interest in the committee, so I'm happy about that. And then, and I guess it's 7:03, we're officially starting. I think that's important for the minutes. Yes, so we had a lot of applicants, which is great. Happy to see so many people interested in participating. Tonight, I am going to appoint our initial members, and then hopefully everyone can introduce themselves to each other, because I don't think everyone has met all of the committee members, introduce themselves to the public, kind of share like why you were interested in joining the committee. Later, we will kind of establish the meeting schedule for the year. And then you might have seen I did add one item to the agenda that we can talk about at the end, about a bill that's going through council about loud vehicles and attempts to mitigate that. So nothing to vote on tonight, but just maybe some priority setting and things like that. So I can start. I don't know, maybe I'll call on people. I guess that would be probably the easiest way to go around to introduce people. So I'm Matthew Holden, Commissioner M1B07. Professionally, I work in transportation in Arlington County in the Department of Transportation there, which is why I was interested in chairing this committee. So excited to work on notice of intent and the bus priority projects, all the DDOT stuff, but the committee has been expanded to be parks and public space. So excited to work on those issues as well. So in my screen, I see Zoe first. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, maybe everyone can say what SMD they're in and just like, why you were interested in applying to the committee.
Hi, I'm Zoe, and the curse of my last name is that I always have to go first in this stuff. And I don't actually know the number of my SMD, but I'm on 13th and U Street. Um, and I've worked in land conservation for 4 years, and I'm really passionate about parks and open space, and that's why I wanted to be on the committee.
Great. Welcome. Johnny, I see you next.
Hi, everyone. Johnny Cabrera. I can't remember mine either. I'm on 13th and Clifton.
We'll work on this.
That should be better. I promise I'll do homework for the next time. Similar to Zoe, I work for an environmental nonprofit. I really care about that line of work. It's kind of my background, but also I just care about the prosperity of our community. I care deeply about a good, safe, harmonious community and the denizens that represent that community. So that's why I volunteered my time and to meet more neighbors. I think it'd be fun. I think we could have fun together.
Great. Thank you. Nick.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Zoe, as a fellow last name with an A, I feel your pain always being at the top of the list. My name is Nick Adamo, 1B06. I am a professional transportation planner by day. I work for a local architecture and engineering company. I do a lot of local, regional, and national urban planning work with a focus on bike and pedestrian planning, public transit planning, a whole lot of public engagement. And my interest in transportation and public space really extends into my personal life too, and really excited to serve my neighborhood and work with you all to better our built environment. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Matthew?
Hey, I'm in 1B02. I live in 11th, Vermont. My interest in this, I was on the transportation committee last time under Santiago. I see he's here again. Hello, Santiago. And what drove me really become a committee member was finding out that a lot of neighbors were finding out about things happening at the last minute, and that communication out to neighbors wasn't really happening, so there wasn't really good engagement. So I want to see how I can help support engagement from the community and get neighbors' input. I was really glad to see that they added parks and public space to this, because I do have a personal interest in the parks and public space around me. I want to be sure we can do whatever we can to support those. And I'm interested in the protected bike lane work that's being done in the city.
Great, thank you. Good Eve, I have you next.
Hey everyone, Ganeep Sharma. I live in 1B04. I had to look it up, so I appreciate having some time to look that up. So like at 13th and V-ish. I think a lot of folks covered why many of us probably joined. Seeing bike lanes, better bus routes, increasing park access around the area, especially for young kids as well.
Great, thank you. Rebecca?
Hi, y'all. I'm in 1B 101. So Ledroy Park is my neighborhood. And yeah, similar to most other people here, I'm interested primarily like as a resident of the neighborhood. I rely on public transportation to get around. And I think that like really is kind of why I wanted to have a say in what happens in the place that I live in.
Great. Julius?
Hey, my name is Julius. Again, similar to what a lot of people have said, I moved here actually about 8 months ago, and I've been looking to get more involved in. I'm in 1B02, by the way. Sorry, I know that because my roommate is actually the ANC for this little catchment. But yeah, I moved down here from Philadelphia about 8 months ago, and I've just been looking to get more involved in the community, in my neighborhood. I'm a big cyclist, so I have an interest in that, especially vested interest. And yeah, I heard about the transportation committee and thought I'd check it out.
Great, thank you. Former Commissioner Santiago?
I don't know if that's a title that I want. Hi, I'm Santiago. I live in 1B04. I used to chair the committee for 2 years when I was commissioner. And then before then, I was on the committee for around 2 years. Similar, I just really, enjoy the work and getting to know people. I think we've been able to do a lot of really great things over the last 4 years, and I'm looking forward to, another couple of years of doing good things.
Great. Nicole?
Yeah. Good to see everybody. My name is Nicole Kakoza. I live in 1B08, so near 13th and T Street. I am also a transportation analyst by profession, so I work a lot at the federal level on active transportation modes, sustainability, and safe streets planning. So professional interest in that. I'm also a native Washingtonian, and I've lived around the 1B area on and off for the past 10 years. So really just at the intersection of, caring about my hometown and my community and where my professional expertise lies. So yeah.
Great. Ben?
Hi, I'm Ben Clemens. I've been on the committee for like over a decade now, so sometime. I am an amateur transportation nerd. My job is not about this, but transportation affects me directly. I leave the house pretty much every day, and yeah, I felt like this would be a great way for me to help the community. So here I am, and thank you for having me.
Great, thank you.
Oh,
David?
and oh, I didn't mention I'm 1B02. I'm
Okay.
on the contentious part of 11th Street.
Hi, I'm David. I'm your constituent, Matthew. I'm in 1B07. I am a political consultant for state and local candidates. As also fellow Washingtonian Nicole, I think. Very cool. And growing up here, we don't get much at the federal level, but when you learn more about these ANCs, you realize how much you can do for good if you get involved locally. So that's why I'm here, and very passionate about parks and public transit because it's basically one of the best expressions of this common project we all have here. We all pay for it. We should all want to make sure that they serve as many people as possible and do as much good as possible. So that's why I'm here.
Great. Thank you. Jay?
Hi, my name is Jay Swiderski. I am also a professional transportation planner working for a local firm, a lot on trails work and safe routes to school. I also sit on DC's Pedestrian Advisory Council, representing Ward 1. And as a 1B03 resident, am looking forward to getting more involved on an even more local level, particularly for pedestrian space, as well as bus service and better bus shelters, and as also improving bike space. So
Great, thank you. Karen?
Hi, good evening, guys. My name is Karen Gall, and I am a longtime public safety person here in Washington, D.C., but also I'm a disability transportation advocate for full advocacy for disability rights in transportation and mobility. And I believe in ensuring that public spaces are truly inclusive and accessible in all of the ANC1B commission. And I always dual task on all of our committees. I've been involved with the 1B commission since 2013. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Karen is doing double duty tonight because we are double booked with the Public Safety Committee. So, she's involved with both. In the future, I don't think that will happen, but that's great. And last but certainly not least, Angela Marie, can you share?
Hey, thanks. Yeah, nice to see everybody. My name is Angela Marie Hatcher. Serving tonight as sort of the backup / alternate. So happy to see that everybody's engaged. But my professional life, I work for a union supporting aviation workers. I work for a CWA. And like many of you said, I have a personal interest in this. I had a friend who was, he's a cyclist and got hit by a car. I have another friend who was hit in a crosswalk. So I try to want to fix that so that, as many of you said, like we can have safer communities. So I'm looking forward to the work that you guys are going to be doing. Thanks for having me.
Great, thank you. So we did have two other applicants that I was able to speak to before tonight. Laura Ho, a neighbor who does like public health research and like international development work, I believe. She is out of the country, so she could not attend this meeting, but is planning on attending the next one. So hopefully everybody can meet her soon. And then our other applicant, Dion Mikado, I think. I'm not looking at it. She works for OSSI and is involved in the Office of the State Superintendent and is involved with student transport with the schools. Oh, she just joined. Dion, I was just invoking your name. So the fact that you joined right now is pretty funny. So what we just did is we did a roundtable, just kind of like introductions, why people were wanting to join the committee. And I was just mentioning that you were also planning on being in the committee. So if you would like to just quickly, introduce yourself to everyone, that would be great.
Sure. Good evening, and I do apologize for my late.
No problem.
My name is Dion. I am a mom of two, a third generation Washingtonian, so I've been in the city a while, all my life. Uh, Interested in just getting to know more about how I can become more involved in the community. And so I saw this committee and some of the things that you guys are proposed to do. And I thought this would be a great way for me to just become more involved. As a mom of two, I didn't always have the time in the beginning, but now that things are a little more stable for me, I hope that this is a great opportunity for me to just become more actively involved and then offer my expertise. Currently, I work in the student transportation field. And so in reference to transportation, I can offer a lot of my experiences over time. So I'm excited to be here and happy to get to know all of you guys in this process.
Great, thank you. So I'm really excited that all of you decided to volunteer. I think this is a really good group that brings a lot of different perspectives and lived experiences and live all over the neighborhood. So I think we can get a lot of cool stuff done, hopefully. As I think I mentioned on like our individual calls, we'll be doing like two types of things, right? Like, so some of them will be reactive. DDOT will send us a notice of intent and we'll have a 30-day comment period or whatever. And we might need to write a letter with the community's comments and then send that to the ANC, and then they'll vote on whether to send that or add anything or take something away. Same with parks. If there's a park renovation and they want some comments or input, this will be the forum for the ANC to do that. But we don't just have to wait for a project. We don't have to wait for the agencies to come to us. If you know of a problem spot on your block or nearby you or anywhere in the neighborhood that is an unsafe crossing or could use some sort of traffic calming device, like bring it to the committee and we can discuss it. Same with a park. If you know there's a park or some sort of public space near you that feels neglected or could use some love from the city, like that's the type of thing that we can discuss here. And we don't have to wait for the agencies to come to us. Some of my priorities this year that I know that we'll have to pay attention to are the U Street bus priority project and the Florida Avenue bus priority project. Those kind of cross the whole length of the ANC. Are some pretty big changes that could hopefully like improve transportation across the neighborhood. So I think that'll be great. So I'll be asking for definitely some informational meetings from DDOT about that, whether we're always like voting on something or proposing something. I think they should still, provide us updates on designs and construction schedules and things like that. So I think if anyone else has any priorities for the year that they would like to share, we could do that now. And then also, if you were previously on the commission, if there's anything that might be like really important for this group to know in the next year, besides like the bus priority project or things like that, like what else should we maybe be paying attention to? So I saw Jay's hand first.
Yeah, so I'm also particularly hoping with especially our parks part of the title that we can get NPS to talk to us. Particularly, I know that Commissioner Trindade Duramo has been trying to get more talk with Parks Police and MPD about things going on in the park. But I also would love to get NPS to do more to take care of the space around the park, particularly the sidewalks, which on both Euclid and the W Street sides of Meridian Hill Malcolm X Park, they have a long history of not bothering to clear snow and ice in the winter, including this year. I don't know if there's any time to get any serious change in that for this year, but hopefully at the very least, next year, maybe they'll actually bother to clear their sidewalks.
Yep, that's great. Nicole?
Yeah, so I have mentioned these to you before, but I wanted to put them out in front of the committee. I think that there's a couple of things from last year's transportation committee that I think that we could continue to focus on in this upcoming year. One of them is the U Street Park Performance Parking Pilot Program. Which for those who don't know, in kind of the U Street Corridor area, DOT is doing this year-long experiment where they have this expanded area where they charge non-residents higher rates for parking during busier times. The idea being that either people will be willing to pay more to the city, or they will figure out another solution, like spend less time kind of like, dynamic parking for the curb. That project is ongoing. I have kind of been disappointed with the amount of education and enforcement I've seen around it, and I would really like to follow up with DDOT to see if they are doing things that we are not aware of, if they have plans to restore all of the signs that have been torn down during the winter weather, and really just, I think that this pilot has a lot of potential. And I would hate to see failed data collection or just like haphazard implementation mean that it was all a waste and we didn't learn anything useful. So that is number one. Number two, this is just kind of, yeah, so I think that it's DPW. I cannot remember off the top of my head, but DDOT was the one who's doing the signs. But like anecdotally, as I talk to folks in my building and stuff, there's no understanding of like what the project is or what the signage for it means. There are signs on my block on T Street.
Just for the attendees in the audience, because I'm not sure that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the attendees can't see the questions, but there were two comments from panelists. So one, is DDOT also doing the enforcement, or is DPW's office doing enforcement? So we think DPW is doing the enforcement. We can find out about that.
Yeah, and I think Santiago will probably be able to fact check me a little bit. But yeah, just basically they've started to. Oh, I'm so sorry. There was a second question from Matthew about noting that the signs weren't up yet. They have started to put up the signs on my block, and they are just causing confusion rather than doing anything. And a tremendous amount of them have been torn down or like spun around the sign so they only face the sidewalk kind of thing. So whether or not they're just trying to educate people or trying to implement it, like unsuccessful programming so far. And the fact that it hasn't been expanded to the whole zone, that it's happening like periodically and has been, because it's been months that they've been up. I don't know. The implementation of this is kind of concerning me, basically. And I would love to continue to follow up with DDOT to basically make the point that, like, if we are going to do this pilot, I really want us to do it right.
Yep. Great.
Yeah. Yep. I can hold that for now. Basically, the other thing that I was going to say, but I suspect strongly that other people will bring it up too, is I'd love to continue to have conversations about pedestrian safety on major corridors in the area. And I'm really excited to hear the backgrounds of some of the other people, particularly from that representing older adults and children and other vulnerable road users, and making sure, and people who have like specific personal experience with injuries on our streets. I know that there was someone who died last year hit by a driver on Vermont Avenue and U Street. And I think that we should live in a part of the city where that does not happen, and we have the power to like make that change.
Great. Thank you. Santiago?
Yeah, I'll before I say my thing, I'll follow up on what Nicole said. This isn't to defend EDOT, but more to say I think we should definitely do it. When I was communicating with them when they were implementing it, the people there were very receptive to the feedback, and they were sort of like, this is our first try, and give us more like feedback, and we can like make changes. So I'm optimistic, and I think we should definitely ask them to come back. And I can if I haven't already told you the right people to reach out to, Matthew, I can tell you, and you can email them.
Great.
But the one that I wanted to mention was there's also going to be a bunch of NOIs going out for the changes in bus stops with the Better Bus project. So the new WMATA plan. One thing that we didn't really talk about in the committee last year because it kind of came kind of in the dark-ish was the Metro changed the route for, I don't know what they're calling it now, but what used to kind of be like the G2 that went into LaDroit, because the folks in some of the folks in our neighbors in Bloomingdale were very, very upset about it for the reasons they were upset about it. And because of that, WMATA decided to change the route, and it's kind of weird and circuitous through LaDroit. And it kind of has this whole like kind of loop and stuff like that. And I feel like we should kind of just keep an eye out on how that's actually working. Like, is it causing issues for the bus to like turn? Like the street just didn't seem to make sense. That's my just, it hasn't been implemented yet. But I feel like we should keep an eye out because if it's not really working, then like, I don't know. I don't know what we can do about it, but like we should say something.
So that's a really good point. I did not put it on the agenda, but I did want to talk about it tonight. We did get an NOI for those bus stop changes like today after 5. So like I didn't see it until I got home from work. So you guys haven't had a chance to look at it yet. So like I don't think we can offer substantive. The currently the comment period is through April 1st, but our next full ANC meeting is April 3rd. So I'm asking them to push the comment date a couple days. So at our next committee meeting, like tonight, I can share the link with everyone to the NOI that explains these bus stop changes that Santiago just mentioned. So, and if we have time at the end, I can kind of preview it. But basically, we have an NOI for these bus stop changes. I think we should dedicate a big chunk of the next meeting in March to that, like have that be a big agenda item, and we can discuss it. Then provide any comments to the full ANC at the April meeting, and then they'll submit that to DDOT. Then the official comment period is just 2 days off of our schedule, so I think they'll bump it for us, but I'm trying to find that out just so everyone knows. Nick?
Thanks. Yeah, Santiago, I'm glad you brought up the Better Bus changes. That's something that's very much on my radar for this year, mainly because I worked on the project in my professional capacity, but late last year, the Metro Board of Directors adopted this new bus network, the Better Bus branded bus network. And on June 29th of this year, every single Metro bus route is changing. So I'm really interested in how we as a committee can help our neighbors understand these changes that will affect every bus rider. Some changes will be more drastic than others. Change is hard and learning new things is hard. So I think we can be a vehicle to help spread the word and all the good communications and education that WMATA will be rolling out between now and June 29th.
Great. Thank you, Nick. Karen?
And my priorities, as I mentioned earlier in the meeting, I'm a really big proponent in being a disability advocate. And as in the past, we've made some incredible changes within the 1B infrastructure to ensure that we really bring the multi-mobility to the forefront. And that includes in regards to spaces, making sure that we have wider spaces so that people who use other different mobility devices can navigate through the city, and then also to ensure that the transportation system is open to consideration to one for parking. We have plenty of parking for people who need disability parking in various places, and it's not something that cuts them off from being able to have the access that they need. We've been working really hard in that in the 1B area, and then also making sure that even though we have our better bus system, that it's not blocking the ability for people who use devices to be able to get to these the bus lanes or go through the bike lanes. We want to make sure that everyone who uses the city has the opportunity to use it in a really great way, and that there's proper planning in all aspects, that we have plenty of disability parking, we have plenty of disability access when we create the bike lanes, and those little concrete stations will have a ramp, a way in which you can ride up onto those stations that's in between the for the bus. Santiago, what is those called? I always, that's my
The
thing. I always miss
islands, the bus
the
islands.
those little islands, but I thought they had a little name, a specific name, but I forgot what it was
A
called.
floating bus island, like a floating bus island.
Well, it has a name. It starts with a Z, and Santi had
Zikla.
looked it up. Okay, thank you. Um, I I think that if we just make sure that we're constantly aware, have a consistent situational awareness, that we have neighbors who have multiple needs, and from all different levels. So that's if every time you see me raise my hand, 9 times out of 10, that might be my question I'm gonna ask or add in, to the conversation. But thank you.
Great, thank you. So I did mention the bill in council that I want to talk about briefly, but I would also like to ask if anyone, any of the attendees have any priorities they would like to share, maybe like thinking about things we could focus on this year. At every meeting, when we're considering different agenda items, we'll provide space for public comment on specific agenda items. But if anyone has a burning priority they would like to share, now might be an appropriate time. You don't have to, but if you do, you can raise your hand. But see no hands raised yet, then we can keep moving. So I only have this, like, it's not really even worth sharing my screen for this because I just have like a letter like that was on LIMS, like the DC Council Legislative Information Management System. But essentially there's like three parts of the bill to implement a noise camera pilot program, create a vehicle repair subsidy program to offset the costs of vehicle repairs that might be causing the loud noises, and then also commissioning a DDOT and DOEE study on strategies to reduce vehicular and transit noise in the district. So I think this was introduced potentially last council period or not that long ago, but it didn't move forward. Council member Nadeau and Pinto, I believe, have both introduced it again. So I think at a future meeting, potentially we could ask someone from Nadeau's office to come and kind of share, the rationale and what they're doing, and maybe like when it could be implemented and funded and all the things like that. And then potentially we could write a resolution with suggestions or saying we support it or don't support it, something like that could be a future item.
Is that going to include sirens? Right now, the vehicles that are making the most noise are.
Yeah, it's a good point. And as I was crossing the street this evening on the way home from work, because I live right by the fire and police station on U Street, 17th and U, and I was crossing the street and someone was walking there. I don't know, some sort of hound dog. I'm not good with dog breeds, but some sort of hound dog that just howled the whole time when the ambulance went by, which was kind of comical, but it was very loud. So I definitely agree with you. And I don't know if they would just reading this, it doesn't seem like, I can post the link in the chat actually. It doesn't seem like it would include those type of vehicles, but that doesn't mean we can't include it in our own resolution about the bill. Okay, I'm sending this to hopefully everyone. It said everyone. So that should hopefully include the attendees and the panelists. So that's the link to the bill itself. Depending on the agenda next month, maybe that could be considering a resolution on this bill could be an item for next month. Santiago?
Oh, just as a piece of context, I would have to look for it, but I think in the first iteration of the bill, the ANC also passed, or we passed a resolution on it. I don't remember exactly.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that's just, I watched the hearing for the bill, and it seemed like DDOT didn't want to do anything until New York had finished their pilot, but just because they don't want to do anything doesn't mean they should write the bill. But I'll save my soapbox for what we talk about.
Yeah, so we could, I'll dig that up, the past resolution. We could use that as a starting point. And if this bill has changed substantively, or if the committee's opinions on it have changed, we can write a new resolution reflecting that. Great, so that's that item. I did have one comment from a resident this past week that was talking about electrical vehicle chargers and the idea to how we could encourage access to them and proliferation of them in residential neighborhoods. So that could be another topic, I think, in the future also. David?
That actually makes me think of what I was trying to formulate how I wanted to say when other people were giving their comments. So sorry, this is delayed, but this is a pretty well-stocked committee full of very engaged people, and we could act. I mean, and hopefully this will happen anyway. But my preference is a lot of action to influence the neighborhood, but then also I really like having guest speakers come and inform us on things that are happening, so we can basically be vectors. Because I mean, everyone who's on this committee is most likely the person that other people go to be like, hey, what's going on? I mean, that's why you're here. And so, like, for example, like the DC electric bike incentive program, I mentioned it on the ANC call, and a lot of commissioners hadn't even heard of it. So it's one of those. I got it from a farmer's market from the city, and you can get up to $1,500 if you have a DCID to buy an electric bike. And you have until February 21st to do it. It's about to close. It's one of those things where I'm encouraging people to do it, and the city's doing okay. They're going to the farmers markets, but we, 15 people, 16, whatever, plus everyone who's watching, can be little vectors to spread this information out. So that's also something I wanted to encourage, is bringing guest speakers from the city to tell us about cool things that are flying under the radar that we can alert people to.
Yeah, so that's a good point. I think like I will hear about some stuff, and of course I will set the agenda and things like that, but I'll need items from people, right? Like I won't be able to have a robust agenda without everyone's help. So if you have an idea for a guest speaker, like the e-bike program is a perfect example. Like, so if you have if you have an idea but don't know who to contact at an agency or an organization, like I can kind of coordinate that part. If you just like, oh, I think we should have someone from DOEE come and explain the project, like I can reach out to them. So even if you don't know who exactly you want to invite, but you have an idea for a topic and a presenter theoretically would be good, like I can help figure that out. Okay, that's great. So I guess I want to go to the NOI last. Something just for everyone to think about also is technically we can have a vice chair to the committee, which I think is a new thing. I'm not sure. It's like a new thing that the ANC is allowing, that we can have a vice chair. So I'm not going to ask or set that tonight because I just announced it, but if people could be thinking about if that sounds interesting to you, basically the vice chair, I think, would just kind of step in and help out if, like, for example, I was out of town and we needed to have a meeting that month to vote on something. You know, the vice chair could run the meeting if I couldn't make it or something like that. So you don't have to answer tonight, but maybe hopefully by the next meeting, we could have some conversations about who, if anyone, would want to be a vice chair. So that's great. Santiago, at any meetings, so officially appointing people will be like an email to the chair and the secretary, but did you say you're appointed or, you know, anything like that at any of the meetings?
I think it was more just over an email, or maybe I'm like, congrats. I probably, you're asking a very good question. I probably should have done it a bit more formally.
Yeah.
But I'm sure doing it more formally is a better way to do it.
Right.
But everything turned out fine either.
Yeah. Well, you know, before we get to the NOI, I guess everyone consider yourself appointed, and Angela Marie, consider yourself my favorite alternate who will be appointed as soon as someone drops off. Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. So with the NOI, I was trying to send it in the chat, but I think I only have like a attachment copy. It's not on the NOI hub site yet or whatever. So, but I can share my screen. There's some pictures, but it's the kind of thing that I think everyone will kind of need to like read and sit with so we can have like an educated discussion next meeting. But since I have it, I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully this works.
Did they have a link yet, Matthew?
No. So I was looking on the NOI site and I couldn't find it there. I was emailed a PDF attachment. So
do you have the number of the NOI?
Yeah, so it's NOI 25-18-CPD. And when I put that into the Atlassian site, it didn't come up. But
yeah, as I'm sure many of other people will get to find out over the course of this year, that site is in very poor shape.
Yep.
So I will poke around.
Okay, yeah.
I'll poke around and see if I can find it while you're talking.
Yeah, if you find it, go ahead and please share it. But I will, I'll make sure everyone has a copy of it. And then once it's on the site, we can like share a link with people. But basically, it's exactly like Santiago was saying. It is out of the Better Bus network redesign. And it is in LaDroit Park. They kind of like, you know, describe the changes here in these curbside changes, but I'm just going to go to the visuals because I think that's easier. So they're over here in LaDroit Park, and you can kind of see like where the intersections are a little bit, like how it is kind of snaking through the neighborhood. Like there's some on Rhode Island, it goes up to U Street, and then like over a block.
Either I'm uncoordinated or you're not sharing your screen yet.
Am I not?
Same.
No, you're not.
I
was
can't
about to
see
say.
anything.
Okay. I think I hit one button and then I didn't hit the confirmation button. Okay, did that work?
Yeah, we can see it now.
Okay, cool. So here's the map. So it's blurry, but it's like over here in LaDroit Park at 3 different intersections, and it kind of like snakes through from Rhode Island north. The first one they're kind of describing is at 3rd and U Street. 2 new bus stops on either side of U Street. And I believe all of the bus stops will require the removal of some parking. Like 2 or 3 stops, or 2 or 3 spaces at each stop. And then later on, there's some parking removal for the turn radius of the buses because this is like a new route for them. So this is what it will be at 3rd and U. At 3rd and Rhode Island, there are bus stops on either side of Rhode Island. New stops. So I love how blurry the imagery they use for this is, but so at Fourth and Elm, um, they're removing parking here mostly for the turn radius of the buses. It's not for new stops. Um, but there'll be adjustments to like the stop bar to kind of like help with visibility and the turning of the buses. So they're moving like it 5 feet like further away from the intersections, if that makes sense. On the northeast corner of Elm and Fourth, there's like some flex posts, like a tactical deployment there. So they're gonna remove those because the bus would hit them, most likely, and removing 2 parking spaces here on the eastern leg of Elm Street. So, and then they have like the rationale for that. So I'm hoping they agree to our like 2-day comment extension. So then we can like, everyone can like think about this, read about this, and we can have like a full discussion next month. And this is probably not the only better bus thing that will come up this year. I know they've started to consolidate some stops in the neighborhood. So I think the other week, David actually pointed it out to me that some stops on 16th Street, the 16th and V Street stop was removed and consolidated with the 16th and U Street stop. And I got some comments from neighbors too. Like people were confused about what was happening. So if anyone asks you any stuff about bus stops, it's almost certainly related to the Better Bus Network. I know there will be some changes on U Street too, at like 17th and U and 15th and U, definitely, and probably in other parts of the neighborhood also. So it's just something to keep in mind.
Matthew,
Yes.
maybe if I was wondering if you could I put this in the a link in the chat, but I feel like looking at the route for folks who aren't
Okay.
familiar, it's the PDF. I sent it like a couple minutes ago, and if it's on page 63, just because it's a little bit circuitous, and I think visualizing that would probably be helpful for neighbors, in addition to like the stops and stuff like that.
Okay. That PDF. Why were the stops listed in the way that they're listed for the consolidation or the removal? I was like struggling with it the other day. Just seems they could have done it the layout different. Well, what page did you say it was?
63. I can also share it too. I have it on my screen.
Okay, yeah, I think I opened the wrong PDF. So can you share it?
I got you. And I think Rebecca, sorry if I cut you off before you were going to say something.
No. I think you should share your screen first, and then I'll.
Alrighty, one sec. Can you all see it?
Yep.
So this is the area in 1B. So I think this is Fourth. That's W. That's Bryant. That looks like Anna J. Cooper Circle. And then this is where like the post office is. Someone said something in the Q&A. So this is like where the post office is, and that's like New Jersey, that's Florida, that's Rhode Island. I don't know which. I've just seen them out. I don't know which way it goes. If someone does know which way, which one is like up and then which one is down.
I think
do share that.
it's gonna have to go up Fourth and come back down Third, because looking at the way it's going around the circle in the middle of Ladroit.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just had my hand raised from, I don't know if everybody can see like the Q&A questions, like if the attendees can see it or if only the host can, but I just kind of wanted to like flag what Anna had said in the Q&A and then also like speak to my experience with it as a Ladroit Park resident. Because Anna said what I had also been intending to flag for you all, which is we think part of the reason why it's getting potentially redesigned in this way, like also has to do with they're like changing the design of the S Street Park or they're creating a park on S Street actually, and are just going to be like changing the traffic flow, in that like where it is, where the G2 bus currently goes through. So I think that that like partially speaks to some of this change. I'm a part of like LaDroit Park's neighborhood council as well. And so we received like a presentation from WMATA a couple of, now at this point it was like over 2 months ago. But they were just kind of presenting on some of the changes that are going to be happening in the neighborhood and how that might affect the bus route. So, but I think it's like definitely to Matt's earlier point, like when we kind of were first starting to talk about this, like it'll be worth investigating, you know, what these changes look like, if it's going to make the bus route slower, or anything like that, because G2 is the bus that I take the most frequently. So yeah, just wanted to contribute that.
Great. Thank you.
And I also saw something on the NOI. I'm not sure if you can go back to it. It was, I think it said like they can't use this. Was it saying that they can't use the smaller buses anymore? Is that one of the things it says on the NOI? Because I feel like that would make the bus go slower. If just as a bigger bus, small street, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah, it says in the past, WMATA has been able to serve narrower streets with smaller buses, 30 feet long compared to 40 feet, which is a standard bus that can make tighter turning movements. Unfortunately, these buses are no longer available for WMATA to buy, and the existing fleet has reached the end of its useful life. So they're phasing out all the smaller buses and don't currently have any in the pipeline or like a way to source them, I guess, which could be a problem.
Yep.
For smaller streets.
And for those who aren't familiar, there is only like, I think now one or maybe two bus manufacturers that build enough of their products in the United States to be able to be available for agencies that are forced to buy American. And so if that one company isn't making the buses, and I think this company doesn't make 30-foot buses anymore. So yeah, they literally is no longer the product available.
Yeah, I mean, like we'll see how it goes. I mean, again, we're not WMATA. I mean, I would love to like hearing how folks are in the neighborhood are seeing it. I'm imagining a scenario where they take out those little flex posts and then just someone just parks there, and then but the bus needed the flex post to be gone to make the turn, and then it kind of just like they just gotta get stuck. But I don't know if I hope that doesn't happen. I want the best thing to happen, but I don't know. It would just be interesting to see in a couple months what it looks like.
Yeah. Something we could consider for the resolution or for the comments is, and DDOT should do this anyway, but like, you know, at least we can say that we ask them to, is any changes to parking or the flex posts or anything like that. They should endeavor to update any markings and signage at the same time and make the signage very clear and like enforceable. Because I know often markings and signage can send conflicting messages, and then someone parks there and then it's like, you know, they're causing an issue by doing this. So, you know, we can include something like that in our resolution. Great. Does anyone else, I want to end by 8 o'clock. So we have 5-minute warning. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to share? Tonight, I think we have a couple good agenda items for next month. But if not, then I think this was a great first meeting. I'm so happy that you all volunteered. I'm excited for the year. If someone really wants to be vice chair, reach out. And thanks so much. Meeting adjourned at 7:56.
Thanks, Matthew.
See you soon.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Great job, Matthew.
See ya.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
Night.
That is